Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Paselec GS9 Plus fat tire dual suspension electric bike, so let's get into it. Before we get started with the walk around, if you are looking to purchase a Paselec electric bike, please consider using the link in the description before you make your purchase, as it helps me continue to make videos like this one. There will also be a discount code for $200 off, so be sure to use that discount code at checkout to make this bike even more affordable. It's currently priced at $16.99. I will also put links to our electric bike accessories list, our top e-bike brands page, and finally, our electric bike deals page where I track all the discounts on electric bike brands that I follow. With that, let's take a closer look at the Paselec GS9 Plus. You'll note that this is a fat tire electric bike compared to some of their other models. I believe that's where the Plus comes in. We have 26 by 4-inch tires, so these are Chow Yang. Definitely some tread if you want to take this electric bike off-road. Of course, we got front and rear suspension, so that's probably a given if you're looking at this electric bike. We have 160 millimeter rotors up front, and this bike does come with hydraulic disc brakes, which isn't necessarily a given at this price point. So these are Zoom hydraulic brakes, feel really nice. One thing I wanted to point out in the front here, this is a bolt-on axle. I personally prefer when companies include quick releases. It is much easier for traveling if you need to put your electric bike in the back of your vehicle, but perhaps even more importantly, if you happen to get a flat, it's much easier to take a front wheel off with a quick release. Of course, you will need to bring a wrench with you if you want to have the tools in order to change a flat. I'll go ahead and push on this front suspension so you can get an idea of what you can expect. It does have a preload adjustment here on the left, as well as a lockout that clicks over here on the right. One of the really cool things about this electric bike is it has a super clean look. The battery goes in from the bottom, which is a little bit of a challenge. I'll show you just how that works. Here is the 48 volt, 14.5 amp hour battery that goes into the down tube here. And when you are installing this, you need to make sure that locking pin is lined up, as well as the charger port. Now, if you live in a warm climate or you simply don't plan to take the battery out, this isn't a huge deal, but this is perhaps one of the downsides of this electric bike because it can be challenging to insert this battery. I'll go ahead and show you how I found the best way if I'm doing it myself. Of course, we have the kickstand, so I typically tilt the bike up and try to slide that battery in from the bottom. It's a little bit awkward. The bike needs to be pretty far over, actually, for you to get this battery in. And simply push the battery up, and then you turn the key at the bottom to engage the locking pin, and then you can pull the key out. And just a note, there is a on and off switch at the bottom of the battery, so if you do purchase this electric bike, you want to make sure that is turned on so your bike turns on. So with that battery installed, we can now go ahead and power on the bike here. We have the controls here, push the bottom button, and the bike is turned on. I'll go ahead and show you the integrated front light. It does not come with a rear light, but it does come with a front light. Fairly bright front light, but of course, if you are doing lots of riding at night, I always recommend external rechargeable lights on your handlebars. Okay, let's move on to the cockpit here. We do have some grips that have a palm rest. These are locking grips. Those Zoom hydraulic brakes, again, I've been seeing the Zoom hydraulic brakes on many electric bikes, definitely perform very well. And I think they are also a little bit more affordable compared to the very name brand hydraulic brakes that you see on the market today. Let's take a look at the display here. So we have energy bar at the top. That's your battery capacity, speed, front and center. We do have a front light indicator, pedal assist level, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 5 is sport. And we have the odometer here in the bottom. And hitting the bottom button here is going to cycle through other information, trip, voltage, current, and time. One other thing to note with this electric bike is it does have cruise control, which is actually something you don't see on many electric bikes. And so once you hold the throttle as well as the pedal assist down button, you can see that it does say cruise there on the screen. Definitely a nice feature. I really think the cruise is a feature that more companies should put on their electric bikes. As far as a shifter, we have this A5 shifter, which is not a brand that I'm familiar with, but I find that it has been performing just fine. And I personally prefer the trigger shifters compared to the thumb shifters. Now, one of the things that's unique on the Paselec GS9 Plus is that the throttle is located on the right side. So you have the shifter, of course, here on the right side, as well as the throttle. So definitely just want to be careful if you do purchase this electric bike. Most often you'll see if a company is using a thumb shifter, it's on the left side of the bike. And if it has a twist grip throttle, it is on the right. So this moves the shifter a little bit to the left, but I was personally still able to reach it. Perhaps your hand is a little bit more further left with that additional space. So just something to be aware of. Right hand thumb throttle on the Paselec GS9 Plus. Let's take a look at some of the aesthetic features here. You can see Paselec as well as some orange accents here. And it does say Paselec at the bottom of the down tube. Now let's take a closer look at the rear suspension. So this is a R&R shocks. I personally feel as a lighter rider at about 140, 145 pounds that this rear suspension is pretty soft. It does not have any adjustments that I'm aware of. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on the Paselec here just to give you a little bit of an idea of what you can expect with the suspension. You can see even as I'm just sitting on here, it does depress a little bit. And then of course you can imagine if you hit some additional bumps. So definitely for me as a lighter rider, I prefer this rear suspension. It's not super stiff compared to some of the other full suspension electric bikes that I've ridden. And I wanted to show you here where the battery can be charged when it is inside the bike. So there's a cap here that covers the battery charger opening. And because of the unique design of this bike, you can see that the cables actually come in here into the electric bike, and then there is a cover here as well. And of course, some cables run into the top tube here as well as at the bottom of the top tube. Let's quickly talk about these Walgo pedals. Definitely a component that I see on many electric bikes. Going to get the job done. If you want to customize your electric bike, you can get some colored pedals or perhaps ones with more grip. One of the nice things is that the kickstand is located towards the rear of the bike. No chance of the pedals coming in contact with the kickstand. That's of course nice when you are moving this electric bike around. As far as the saddle goes, we have a slightly more comfortable, I would say, saddle compared to some electric bikes. Of course, this is definitely personal preference. So if you want something with more cushion, check out our electric bike accessories list. There's a list of some of the most popular saddles that I see people purchase. Moving on to the rear of the bike, there are those Zoom hydraulic disc brakes. Again, 160 millimeter rotors. And you'll note that this electric bike does not come with fenders, no rear rack, so definitely something to consider. Perhaps for some people, that's no big deal. If you're going to be going off-road with this electric bike, you perhaps don't need a rear rack, but something to keep in mind if you are looking at this bike compared to others on the market. All right, moving on to the rear of the bike, we do have a 14 to 32 tooth freewheel back here in the rear, and they do have a matching A5 rear derailleur. Again, this is a 9-speed, and I wanted to point out when I received this electric bike, Paselec accidentally put the wrong derailleur on here. They did send me a replacement. They also did need to send me a replacement derailleur hanger. Now, I think this was just a fluke with the model that I received, And I have to imagine that if you're looking at purchasing this electric bike, they will include the right components. They did take care of me and paid a bike shop to install this for me, so really appreciated that. And something when I was getting the derailleur replaced that I noticed is this bike does come with a master link. So that means this is very easy if you have the correct tool to take off this chain. Definitely don't see that on a lot of electric bikes. Now in the rear here, we do have a 750 watt motor. In the upcoming first person riding footage, you'll get a good idea of how that performs. In the front here, we have a 40 tooth single walled chainring. So that concludes the walk around on the Paselec GS9 Plus. With that, let's get to some first person riding footage. I'll show you just what this electric bike can do. We'll ride it with throttle only, pedal assist, and finally take it up the large hill that we test up all of our electric bikes on. So let's get to that footage. Okay, let's get started with the riding footage on the Paselec GS9 Plus. We'll start off here in throttle only, and just a note on their website, they say this is a 750 watt motor. They don't say what it peaks at. I'm currently at about half battery capacity here. And they don't say whether this is a class 2 or class 3 electric bike, so I guess we're just gonna go ahead and see what this can do on throttle alone and then go into the various pedal assist modes. Now I did look in the advanced settings of the display, which you can get into by holding the up and down pedal assist buttons at the same time, and I believe the max speed was set at 29 miles per hour, so I believe we'll be able to see what this motor can do. Obviously, you should be aware of your local laws and regulations as it relates to speed. With that, I have the GPS speed here. Throttle only, 3, 2, 1, go. Definitely a pretty slow takeoff on this electric bike. 12, 14, 15, 17, 18, there's 20, 22. I think that's about what we're gonna see out of this electric bike. We'll go ahead and get up to speed here, and then I'll hit the throttle and just see what we can do here. This is a slight downhill, but I think 20 miles an hour, 21. Like I said, slight downhill. So maybe 24 miles an hour, 23 miles an hour. Once you kind of get up to speed, definitely one of the motors that isn't going to jerk you along compared to some electric bikes. Of course, that may be a pro or con, depending on how comfortable you are on an electric bike. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and go through the various pedal assist modes, and I'll actually start off here in pedal assist 1, and I'll shift down here. There's first gear. Pedal assist 1, definitely would want to shift up here, so let's go ahead and 2, 3, 4. Still pedaling at a leisurely pace. Maybe could even go to 5. Okay, pedal assist 2. Definitely feel the motor kicking a little bit there. There's 15. 15 miles an hour. And in pedal assist 2, definitely feel like I could shift up here. It's actually going in the highest gear, because we typically are riding our electric bikes in the highest gear and then just adjusting the pedal assist level. Now, one of the things to note with this electric bike is I have been noticing that it takes a little bit for the cadence sensor to kick on compared to other cadence sensor electric bikes. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 3. And we're already hitting 22 miles an hour. All right, we'll start here again in pedal assist 4, and then I'll go into 5. So 22, 23 miles an hour, 24. Gonna go up this slight hill here. And so while this motor didn't seem crazy powerful with throttle alone, it definitely seems to have a lot of power in the various pedal assist modes. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 5. I wasn't actually expecting it to get into the 20s. Here's pedal assist 5. Working as hard as I can, spinning those legs. 26, 27, 28, 29. All right, so hopefully that gives you a better idea of what this bike can do in the various pedal assist modes. Definitely a capable fat tire electric bike. With that, let's get to the hill climb, and I'll share with you just what this motor can do up the steep hill. Okay, here we are at the hill climb test. This is the hill that I test out all of our electric bikes on. We'll put on the screen the stats of this hill because the GoPro makes it look much smaller than it actually is. And so what's nice is you can compare various electric bikes that I have reviewed. Okay, with that, let's start with throttle only. Again, nice and easy on this throttle. Really eases you into it for sure. There's 18, there's 20. And usually what I see with these fat tire electric bikes is maybe between 12 and 13 miles an hour on the lower end. There's 12. Ten. 9. 8. And again, this battery was about half capacity, according to the energy bar at the top. And we are going to make it up this hill, though not significantly fast. I think 8 is probably going to be the minimum speed. It's possible that this motor is peaking at 750 watts, though it is interesting that I was really able to hit the higher speeds still with the various pedal assist levels. But many of the electric bikes that I review that have 750 watt nominal and say 1,000 watt peak or somewhere around there do this hill 12, 13 miles an hour minimum speed, whereas it looks like this is doing 8 or 9. And I'm pretty confident that's going to be the minimum speed. So I'm going to head back down the hill and then I will do it again in the various pedal assist modes so you can get a sense of how it climbs hills while pedaling. Okay, I'm going to start pedaling here. Going to shift all the way down, pedal assist 1. And that's where we will start. So definitely pedal assist 1. First gear, very easy, going up the hill, 10 miles an hour here. I would typically want to make it a little bit more difficult, get a bit more of a workout. There's second gear. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 2 here. Felt a little bit of power, but not a significant amount. Could maybe shift up a little bit. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 3 here. .11 miles an hour, definitely a leisurely cadence. Working a little bit, but not too hard. Pedal assist 4 here. .12 miles an hour. I think I could stay in this gear. Maybe shift up a little bit here. All right, let's go into pedal assist 5. And there's 12 miles an hour. So yeah, this feels pretty comfortable. I think I'm in the 4th gear here. So definitely capable of hills, but not going to be as powerful as some of those other 750 watt motors, or at least electric bikes that are advertised with 750 watt motors that definitely peak a little higher. But this bike will still make it up, no problem. And of course, on the way down the hill, I was really appreciating the hydraulic disc brakes. Those feel really nice on this bike. Okay, with that, let's get to some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Paselec GS9 Plus.
For starters, it's important to keep in mind that Paselec is a new electric bike brand to me, so I can only comment on the performance of this electric bike and my experience with this one model, the Paselec GS9 Plus. This review has taken some time to get out, partially due to waiting for the replacement parts, the new derailleur to replace the 7-speed one that accidentally came on the bike. We also replaced the derailleur hanger at the same time, and I had my local e-bike friendly shop take care of throwing on the new shifter that they also sent. It's also winter here, and then the holidays hit. Either way, apologies for the delay for those of you waiting for this one. The GS9 Plus is priced at $16.99 on their website, but you can get $200 off if you use my code. It is also available on Amazon for $17.99 with a current promotion that will give you $300 off if you click the discount on the product page. Links to both will be in the description. At $14.99, this makes the Paselec GS9 Plus one of those e-bikes where you get a lot for the price. You simply won't find many full suspension e-bikes at this price, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with the rear suspension. Sure, there's a limit of the quality you should expect at such an affordable price point, but I'd say this for sure falls into the gets the job done category. The shifter and derailleur, while not name brand, worked great, but where you're really getting value here is with those Zoom hydraulic disc brakes. Most often, you're only going to find bikes with mechanical disc brakes at this $1,500 price point. I also like the color LCD, and the cruise control is a nice bonus. Now, there are a few trade-offs here. The frame actually looks great in my opinion. It appears like a more expensive e-bike than it actually is. The clean look, though, is partially accomplished by that integrated battery, which goes inside the frame, which, as I demonstrated, can be tricky to remove. Speaking of battery, Paselec estimates a range between 30 and 45 miles, which sounds about right, though definitely don't expect 45 miles unless you're really conserving battery. The Paselec GS9 Plus also lacks a rear rack, fenders, and an integrated rear light, features that certainly come on fat tire e-bikes in this price range. But again, trade-offs. Some people simply don't need a fully accessorized electric bike. Now let's talk about the motor. The 750 watt motor feels less powerful compared to, say, a Bafang 750 watt motor that peaks much higher. Just watch some of my other fat tire e-bike reviews, particularly on the hill climb footage. Still, this motor was able to reach pretty high speeds, which was surprising. It just took longer to reach those high speeds. And finally, I found the cadence sensor took a little longer to engage than I'm used to. Perhaps this is a setting change in the advanced settings, but I try not to deviate too much from how these bikes come shipped. In conclusion, the Paselec GS9 Plus shines with its hydraulic brakes, front and rear suspension, and a great looking frame. If power is at the top of your list for features on a fat tire e-bike, you may want to look elsewhere. But if you're looking for a budget fat tire e-bike, then it's worthy of putting the specs up against other fat tire e-bikes at similar price points. And if you aren't keen on a fat tire e-bike, the company also offers other e-bikes at prices starting at around $1,000. Remember, discount code in the description to save $200, and that link also helps support e-bike escape. Other resources down in the description as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.